Let us begin with a breath. Not a breath to get anywhere, but one that opens the moment. A moment where you are invited not to grasp, but to sense, to gently turn attention toward what has always been moving within you and around you. In the metaphysical structure of what we call the grid, we find a map not of locations, but of frequencies. A multidimensional lattice formed along 3 axes, X, Y, and Z, each a vibrational key to the unfolding of consciousness. The X-axis expresses energy centers reminiscent of the chakra system, expanded into 12 gradations from root to the divine masculine. These centers do not stand alone, they flow and spin, expressing either feminine receptivity or masculine dynamism, shaping how energy is embodied in form. Along the y-axis, we encounter density, an arc from form to formlessness, from the solidity of particle to the openness of wave. It is a gradient of refinement where matter becomes light and light becomes the silent resonance of being. And then the z-axis opens an infinite corridor of variation, parallel timelines, alternate lives, unrealized potentials. A spectrum of might have been coexisting with what is. But the so-called grid is not a structure in space. It is a language of vibration, a way to speak about how experience arises, not through thought, but through activation. Combinational activation. That is the unique intersection of an energy center, a frequency, and a soul variant gives rise to a perceptual plane, a plane we live, breathe, and call reality. Yet reality in this sense, it is not fixed, it is an emergent echo of interaction. And in this vision we find resonance with the holokinetic view of life as a living paradox. Since here all of existence is seen as a vibrational flux field, a field in motion, yet paradoxically nothing moves. The whole is moving, but there is no center, no observer outside the movement. Life perceiving itself through itself endlessly. And when identification arises, when some aspect of this motion becomes mine, a story begins. A narrative is formed, and with that the physiological body responds. A chemical impulse, a tightening or opening, overwhelm or excitement. From this, action follows. We could say that perception is born from identification with movement in the flux field. The more rigid the identification, the more rigid the perception. And yet, always, there is the possibility of collapse, of returning to the openness of emergence. The grid's idea of entering so-called rooms of awareness is not unlike holokinetic's vision of toroidal fields forming through collective sensing. Each person a node in the web, each perceptual shift a new harmony or a new dissonance within the larger field. These fields, when activated collectively, birth new knowledge, not by accumulation, but by resonance. This is the science of emergent information. This is holokinetics. There is no chooser behind the perception. There is no self pulling strings. What appears to be choosing is simply the body field responding to the energetic flux. Just as no one paints the aurora borealis across the sky, and yet we each perceive its dance through our own lens, so too does reality appear to be authored by a self, when in truth it arises in waves, never the same twice. So, the invitation is not to map the grid, not to chart the flux. The invitation is to dwell within the awareness that all perception is an echo of movement, of energy, of the formless becoming form for a moment, and then dissolving once again. As you sit with this, allow the axis of your own attention to soften. Feel into your own x-axis, your energetic center. Notice where you are holding or flowing. Tune into your y. What is the density of your experience? Heavy, light, expanding. And then your z. What variations are present? What memories or imagined futures whisper to you now? You are not here to solve this. You are here to perceive it freshly, to enter the holographic house of being through the doorway that is always open. Newness, thisness. And in this newness, may you find not an answer, but an unfolding, not a conclusion, but an invitation, to let the self melt into the storyless sky, to let the field speak through the silence. This is the work of living, not to know, but to be with what arises, and from that shape, something new may emerge.